So let's start with the boutique investment banks as we hear them. And Evercore we always talk about. They were in this, they did well. But the one I loved actually is Roby Warshaw.
Yeah.
Which most people have not heard of. It turns out, I learned this over the weekend, it is like the best outfit for knowing UK takeover law. They are expert in this. That's what they know better than anybody.
It is really interesting to see who gets who the big winners are in all of this from a banking perspective, and we can talk in a minute about the hedge funds as well. Which,
that chart was just hedge funds,
which just popped up. But from an investment banking perspective, you hear about the big guys all the time. You assume that the Goldmans and the Morgan Stanleys and the JP Morgans of the world. But these niche banks, and we've seen more and more of them come along really post-financial crisis. You think about, it doesn't even make sense to call Moelis a boutique bank anymore,
100%.
but that's what it was. That's really what it came out of. And Evercore, as you mentioned, we talk about all the time, but these guys sort of came out of nowhere for most of us.
Well, that's right, but they've passed the cities. They've passed now even Bank of America and things like that.
Right.
In the investment banking advisory fees.
Which is funny because if you wind up talking to investment bankers at big banks, they're going to say, oh, well, we do large deals.
Right.
Those guys are small and medium sized. So we're not playing the same game. We're not going to compete for business. And then in reality, that's not even true.
Right. That's exactly right. And what we're seeing more and more is that customers and clients ultimately, don't really necessarily always want that big bank approach. It feels sort of stifling. They don't feel like they get that attention. And this, as you both know very well, this is ultimately a relationship game.
Yeah.
And especially with a deal like this that was so complicated. This is in your world,
And what those boutique bankers would tell you is, yes, it's relationships. Those relationships are based on talent.
Yes.
And that, in fact, some of the small firms can attract the big talent. Look at even the Saudi Aramco situation.
Right.
M. Klein and Company.
Yeah.
It's a 30-person shop. Is a big player in that because Klein has the relationship.
Because Michael Klein is
MBS.
so in that. Yeah, exactly.
So the part winners, the other winners, that lovely merger arb. Take a look at some of the hedge funds. Elliott, O'Day. There were some big names that had some made bank basically over the weekend.
Valpost, another of the big ones. You see that. So that's their holdings there in Sky.
As of the last 13 up. So to be fair.
They definitely piled into this one, and it was interesting to see going into it, they were almost certainly going to win some way or another. It was just how much they were going to win, which, that's a pretty good place to be in. We don't talk a lot about the hedge fund winners these days in the broader hedge fund world. These guys, and these are big names, as you say, really came out on top here.